Recorded. Joel, say anything you want. Okay, what?
He's joking.
What?
I know him too well.
That little.
Testing.
Joel.
Is that it? Kieran, go.
Wow.
No, you've got to do it, and then just look directly in the camera and go. exceL.CoD.
Now, eSports. In the game.
Go. I'm still recording.
exceL.Esports.
Hey, what's going on, guys, and welcome back to the exceL.Esports YouTube channel. It's been a couple of days since we've had a video up, so we kind of wanted to bring you, this is going to be such a stupid video, look at them two. We're going to bring you a little bit of an update as to what's been going on at exceL, mostly revolving around the Call of Duty roster, because I'm sure if you've seen what's been happening across Twitter and various other means of social media, there's been a lot that's happening with exceL and their Call of Duty roster. But firstly, I'm joined by the two brothers that represent the heart of exceL in Joel and Kieran. How are we both doing today?
Very good, thank you.
Very well, thank you, sir.
Yeah. We've had a interesting pre-call. We've had Kieran eating mashed potato with his mouth open. We've had Charlotte going a little bit angry. I hope she's not in the room anymore. She's just over there. Okay, I might be in trouble. But anywho, so the first thing I kind of want to talk about, let's go all the way back to EGL14. Obviously, had a really good performance. We ended up finishing 4th, was absolutely amazing, placing in the money. We obviously, I think we all knew the other side of EGL that there was going to be roster changes with the 18 plus arrangements for Call of Duty this year. What was the kind of first stepping stone in, talking with the players and then kind of scouting new players?
So, I believe in our last video in the EGL review with myself, you and Bainesy, we talked quite a lot around the decision that we took to lose Jamie and Shawnee after the event. It was just an age thing. There was nothing more to it than that.
Yeah.
We were left with Liam, who's Carbines, and Zach, who is Zed. Obviously, looking for 2. And then, basically, everybody knows Zach had a really, really good event. So, obviously, he was quite valuable in the market. Like, people wanted to team with him. And then, basically, the opportunity came up for him to team with the exceL lineup. And obviously, it was a case of we can drop Liam and take those guys in, or don't, but then risk losing Zach to them. So, we kind of didn't have a choice. We spoke to Liam about it. He understood. He wanted to go team with Dave and Billy from Barrage anyway. And then we went from there.
Yeah. Kieran, how hard was it kind of saying goodbye, although hopefully it's not forever, to Carbines, Insight and Shawnee?
Okay, so obviously Shawnee's been with us from the start, so that was the conversation that we were all dreading having. Although, as it became more apparent to both Shawnee and Jamie that obviously, they weren't going to be able to team with Zach and Liam, they knew that. The only conversation we had to have was that, look, we're not going to be able to fund an under-18 team as well, simply because it's not, in our honest opinion at the moment in COD, it's just not, it's not smart business at all. Until that changes, then, we won't be supporting under-18 side. But, so, that was really difficult with Jamie and Shawnee. And then, just to make it even worse, when we had the complications with, obviously, Zach and Liam, Carbines, saying goodbye to Carbines was really difficult as well, because he was always within our plans for Black Ops 3. So yeah, it was difficult, but I think we made the right business decision.
Yeah, I have to admire kind of the way Carbines handled it from kind of my perspective. He was kind of very much professional about it. He didn't kind of put up a fuss. He didn't really, go off and effing and ahhing about the decision. He kind of understood that, for exceL to keep Zed, and then to get a arguably really good team going into Black Ops 3, that it just was the decision made. So a lot of respect I think it has to be given to Carbines for that. Then obviously, as you talked about, the not exceL boys, the exeRtus boys wanted to team with Zed. What was the process of approaching them and kind of getting them on board? Because for me, it all kind of went by really quick, and then before we know it, we had a roster, and then obviously implications and changes came about, what we'll talk about in a minute. But what was the process in getting the exeRtus boys?
So, I know they spoke to. They pretty much spoke to Zach first. I cannot remember which player we spoke to first. We ended up basically in a call with all of them. Found out what their plans were, and they said that obviously they were in a similar situation with Nathan not being 18, so then they needed at least one player, and they said at the time that the only player that they wanted to bring in was Zach. We asked if they were contracted, which they weren't. So it then did move pretty quickly. And I'll be honest, it moved quicker than you would normally do it. And we took a bit of a gamble forming a team before the game had come out.
Yeah.
But, I mean...
But it's always risky, though, isn't it? Like, from an org's owner perspective, it's always risky, because if you leave it, you've got the potential of them nabbing Zed or going elsewhere. Missing out. And we wanted those players. They finished above us at EGL by 1 place. Really strong team. We know that they were all, as individual players, they're all going to be sticking around for Black Ops 3, and they're going to do pretty well. Obviously now not with us, but so it didn't feel like a gamble, even though people question, is it the right thing to do before the new game? Who knows? I mean, if they'd have stayed and qualified us for the league as was the plan, and finish top 3 Hamster Pro or whatever, then obviously would have been a good gamble. Yeah.
I'd still stick by the decision. Just to add to what Joel said, I think we made the right decision. You look at Vitality and Infused, and as far as we know, they're sticking as a team, and they were sort of sorted before Black Ops 3.
Obviously Jerd for Joe, but.
Yeah. So, in your opinions, as the decision makers, was the right decision to make, even though, as you said, the game hasn't come out?
At the time, absolutely. And, had things gone the way we wanted them, we'd still have that team. So...
Well, moving forward a little bit, because obviously, as we talked about, we did end up getting Bance, Desire, and Vortex, was it, I think, if I'm not mistaken, on board from exeRtus with Nathan. I think Nathan, was he underage? Was that one of the reasons why? Yeah, so that kind of really made sense, and it was a really good move. And I think everyone within exeL was really excited, really pumped about this team moving forward. No one's really had any doubts at all. Kieran, kind of talk me through the contractual side of things, because this kind of plays into it a little bit. I don't know how much you want to say. You're entitled to keep your opinions to yourself, but the reasoning behind obviously putting them in a contract is so they can't just literally walk out. Like with any org, with any player, it's what happens, and obviously that's why you got them from exeRtus in the first place, because they weren't contracted. So what was the process in terms of putting them in contracts? Because I know there was a couple of problems along the way, but as I said, you can say whatever you want really on this one.
Yeah, I mean, my voice almost like that. Yeah, I'm not going to go into necessarily the details of the contract. What I will say is the phenomenon of contracts in the esports world is something to be looked at. I remember Steve-O made a comment to me that sort of made me think about it more. He said, when players aren't contracted, they can walk all over orgs, but when players are contracted, the org can walk all over them. Now, I don't agree with that statement at all, but it was clear that is how contracts are perceived in the esports world.
Yeah.
Players think, oh, maybe I shouldn't be in this contract because it's keeping me from things. But if you're a player and you're expecting an organisation to put their time and effort into you in building a player, and of course, money, to build you up as a player, obviously it's a co-benefit. The org are going to grow with the player, but that relationship is a contractual relationship as it is. really the contract just puts into words what should be happening anyway.
Kind of just makes it solidified so that both parties, being the player and yourselves, the org owners, know kind of what is what.
Yeah, and it just means because I mean there are a lot of behind the scenes, like well, it's classic because esports is run from Twitter. There are people in each other's DMs all the time just trying to sort of do things behind the scene, and that's not how we want to do business. We want to do honest business. When we set out contracts, we tell our players exactly what they mean. Any questions they want to have, we'll go through. If they want to change something in the contract, they can, unless it's obviously like not agreed.
Yeah, we negotiate it.
It's negotiable. Everyone knows when they're in a contract in exceL exactly what the contract means, and what it does do is it protects us so that we don't invest all our time and money and effort and then have someone just walk out on us and leave us going, well, we now are not in Call of Duty. We're not in the esport that that we want to be in. So I think it does work. It does work, preferable for both players and orgs, but players expect to be funded and given apparel without being contracted.
Yeah.
But really, that is a contractual relationship. So people just need to stop being so apprehensive about contracts and just realize all it is an agreement. It's not.
It's like a partnership between the team and the org, because obviously, as you talked about, it's not like you're giving them a contract and you're saying sign this. Like obviously, you're gonna want them to read through it, make sure they're okay with everything. I know yourself and the exceL team thoroughly went through the contract to make sure it was the way you wanted it. And yeah, just to think that you're going to be investing time and money and apparel and tickets for events, etc. You'd be silly not to kind of contest it and think this is stupid. Why should I be in a contract?
Yeah, and I mean, it's obviously that you've got to look at it from a sporting term first. So if you look at football, which is the obvious one, which a lot of people know about, obvious. And also, I've heard people saying contracts need wages. That's completely rubbish. But obviously, normally,
people are entitled to their opinion at the end of the day, So
no. He means what he means is for a contract to have actual validity.
Oh, okay, I'm with you.
You don't need there's no need for a salary to be if both parties are giving something. And
because I mean, you can always argue that you're giving scuff 4 PSs, apparel, team tickets, etc.
And funding for the events. It's cool consideration. We won't get into the legal side too much. Keep it like layman's terms. But essentially, we give something, we get something in return.
Yeah.
That's the contract.
It benefits both parties rather than just benefiting the player or the org.
Yeah, if we give funding for events or a wage, it doesn't matter. As long as we're giving something and we're getting something in return, that's it's a contractual. It's got basis for a contract. So essentially, so it's like a football contract, and everyone knows that in football contracts there are buyout clauses, and these things, they take esports world goes whoa. Well, the buyout clause is a basis, and when people want to take players, you got to look at the buyout clause. Now, it doesn't necessarily mean someone's got to exceed that buyout clause. It becomes a negotiation. If you agree that the player can be let go for less, then you agree that. And that's absolutely fine. It could be, you could have a buyout clause of £1,000 and sell them for £1. Like, obviously, the reason you put the £1,000 there is to protect you and make it worth your while.
Yeah, rather than there being a loophole in the contract that there's no buyout clause.
It's like a minimum release clause. So if somebody meets that figure, then you can't not release them.
Yeah, if they give you what is in the contract,
if they give you that, you don't have a choice. Whereas if they offer you less, you have a choice.
Exactly. So I think just to wrap that up and not go into it too much, just esports world needs to not be so apprehensive, and also I think some regulation needs to be put in place, but maybe that's for another video. A regulatory commission in esports is 100% needed to bridge that gap between players and orgs.
Just while we're on the topic of contracts, do you feel like, from your personal experience as people that run an org, is there a lack of kind of contracts and like legislation and stuff in place to make sure the orgs aren't getting screwed over, and likewise players aren't getting screwed over?
Good question.
Or is it tricky? Is it kind of, because obviously you only really know of other orgs when you I guess want to approach and see if you want to get their players, etc. But other than that, contracts aren't something that's just out in the blue and accessible to everyone.
Listen, at the end of the day, it comes down to what relationship you have with players. But contracts give you peace of mind. They give you security. Should all organisations have contracts? I'm not going to tell other organisations how to run their business. Do we have contracts? Yes. Will we continue to have contracts?
Yeah.
Absolutely. That's pretty much it.
So is it based on, and then it all boils down to the org's beliefs. If they have enough trust in the players not to need contracts, then I guess they're as you said, like, you're not going to tell the owner of Team Infused how to run their org. Likewise, they're not going to tell you, because it's just out of respect for each other.
Yeah, essentially.
Okay, well, moving forward, because obviously the reason I bring up the theme of contracts and all the boring stuff behind the doors that you don't really need to know about, in all fairness, is because obviously after obtaining the boys from exeRtus, there was a couple of complications and a new opportunity actually arose for the players. And do you want to kind of just talk through what happened and what ended up happening?
Okay, so basically 3 players joined, 2 of them signed contracts, 1 did not. We took that as a sign of, that was a risk to us. We thought, okay, there's a potential we could lose said player. However, AMS Pro is coming up. It's not very far away. Let's focus on that. Let's have a good event, and then we'll see if said player can be kept. They left a lot sooner than we expected, leaving us with an incomplete team. We were trying to fill the gap in that team, but it soon became apparent that the players, or some of the players, had different ideas about who they wanted to team with. Obviously, Shane, formerly of Epsilon, was a free agent. We were in discussions with him, but then basically it transpired that they wanted to team with Sunny B as well.
So there's a complication between the players, what meant basically that someone was going to lose out one way or another in terms of who they team with.
So Sunny B was at Orbit, Desire and Vortex were with us, and Shane was a free agent. They all wanted to team together. It then kind of came down to under which organisation. We also had Zed, who we didn't want to let go. We wanted the team to work with Vortex, Desire, and Zed and Shane, in an ideal situation. But as much as managers, you should have some sort of influence as to what team you're putting together. You can't force players into playing in a team they don't want to play in, which is fair enough. However, the stress and the complications then came with kind of the negotiations about which organisation those players were going to go to, because it became pretty quickly apparent that we were going to lose them. But obviously we didn't want to, and we didn't want to let them go for free. So there was Organisation A, who I won't name, who we were in talks with for a few days. Talks weren't particularly great. That opportunity went away, and then Orbit came in. It went much more smoothly. It was pretty much done in a day. Unfortunately, it was a deadline day for the World League invites. So we ended up losing those 2 players to Orbit. And at which point, we didn't have a lot of time to make a move. We spoke to Zach about who he would be interested in. He mentioned the VWS team. Spoke to them. They were, they didn't have a complete team. They were looking for one, essentially, because obviously Sunny B left them originally. And then Damo quit, which we didn't know was coming at all.
This was on deadline day, so we felt like Harry Redknapp on deadline.
It was all very quick and fast. Like, oh my god, what is happening?
Very, very quickly, we had the VWS boys, we had the 4. We were like, yes, this is our Black and 3 team. Damo quits. We're like, hold on a minute, this is deadline day. We have to find a replacement.
Chaotic.
Basically, Kieran and I were actually at a family event all weekend. So luckily we were together in the same room. Charlotte was there as well.
So you
and
we
were able
to have a little mini boardroom meeting and just be like, right, we need to go for this.
But basically, I was very sleep deprived, quite ill. I was incredibly stressed out by the episode of the other players
what
leaving.
had gone on? Yeah.
It got to about 9 o'clock on Sunday night, and I knew Kieran was awake and was up. I knew Zach was awake and up, and I said, "Sort it. I'm going to bed."
You left it in their hands.
It's in your hands. I woke up and we've got quicker. I was delighted.
Essentially, I'll explain how that all went down.
Yeah.
So Quicker was a part of Orbit. We had no intention of, when our players went to Orbit, of getting Quicker, because obviously we already had a set roster. We had the 3 BWS boys and Zed. So we thought that was our roster. Orbit decided to pick up Desire, Vortex and Shane with Sonny B. So they released Quicker from his contract, because he was contracted there. And then we lose Damo, and then we're looking for one. If you look at the top 3 agents in the scene, there were a couple of options, but it became very apparent that Quicker was the best option. I'm a big fan of Shay.
I have to say, this is at like 11 o'clock at night. Like an hour before the deadline.
Deadline is at 12. I'm currently, messaging Zach in a service station because I had to pull over for my 5-hour car journey. I'm talking to Zach and I'm saying, Zach, who are we getting? Because Zach knows. He goes, I want Quicker. I said, I love Shay.
Let's do it.
Let's do it. Shay is currently at a family do at 11 p.m.
Oh my lord! So it was literally the worst timing. It sounds like.
Yeah, trying to get Signal to reply to messages, trying to get on Skype, trying to find one of his family, having a computer or something just to get on Skype to sort this all out. Decides to pop home to sort this deal out from this family do. Comes home, gets on Skype, sorts it. They're all like, so Nelson, Brain, Zed, and Quicker are in a call. They're like, look lads, I think this team's gonna work. Let's do it. Throw themselves in the deep end. I'm saying, yep, I'm cool with that. I love all of those guys. I think they're all talented players. Let's see how it works. We get the application in just before 12. I actually got one of the ESL guys on Skype and was like, look, has this all gone through? Because Quicker had already put in his application with Orbit.
Oh my lord! So you had to retract that and
had already put in their application with VWS. So we were like, oh my god, what are we doing? And then the ESL guy was like, look, we've done it under exceL now. You're all sorted. So
awesome.
Deadline day was stressful, but can I just take this moment to say our team is fantastic. They are all lovely as well as talented players. No qualms with them. They all just get on with it, grind the game, and I love working with them.
Awesome. Joe, anything to add to that?
I mean, went to bed with a bit of uncertainty.
What was it like waking up and not knowing, like having, the anticipation of finding out whether a team got sorted or not?
I knew something would have been sorted. I knew of, it wasn't just Quicker, we had a couple of other options that we were thinking about when I went to see. I won't name names, but I knew I was happy either way. Knew we had different options. Quicker was my personal first choice, but I didn't want to impose that upon Zach, Brian and Nick. They've got to have a strong say in it. The way it works in COD eSports, as everybody knows, is the players pick their teams and then they go and find organisations, or the players decide if someone needs dropping. It's very rarely management. Is that right or not? Is that how it works in other esports? Is that how it works in sport in general? No, probably not. But there are managers who do it full time and get paid a lot of money to make those decisions.
Yeah.
Whether or not COD will eventually go down that route, who knows? But at the end of the day, those boys are going to be spending hours and hours every day grinding together. And I think what Kieran said about our guys is pretty much on the money. They were kind of thrown together. Obviously, Zach has teamed with Brian Brain before in the past. Nick and Brian have been teaming for ages. Zach and Shay, I think they shared a room at Eventful. So, there's already some chemistry.
They already have connections somewhere or another.
And it's just their attitudes, like their approach to the game. They're grinders. They're going to work on things. Like I've been spending the last couple of days on TeamSpeak with them, listening to their scrims, listening to the way they communicate with each other, and it's all looking good. And it's obviously really early days to actually make a
we won't know yet.
Announcing a team that's barely actually played as a four together on a new game, it has its risks again. Our last risk arguably didn't pay off. We lost the players within a couple of weeks. Will this pay off? Who knows? I hope so. I know the players hope so. Kieran hopes so. All our staff team hope so. So let's see how it goes. I'm positive.
Yeah, well, we'll soon find out at Am2 Pro, won't we, how they do get on. I think, as you said, it's way too early to call. Online tournaments we know aren't very good indication sometimes of how a team will perform on LAN. Just kind of to finish off, because if there are any kind of, I'll say lesser known orgs or aspiring people out there that want to start up their own esports org, what kind of advice could you give them in terms of dealing with roster changes and getting a new roster? What kind of, from all the experience you've had over the last year, what is a couple of things that you've taken from it and that you would advise org owners in the future?
Good question.
I put you on the spot a little bit, but I want to see what you say.
You really need some mental resilience. Like, it's not easy. Anyone that's been in our shoes over the past couple of weeks, and I know plenty of organisation owners that have been, roster changes are the worst thing in the world, and often you have very little control over them happening. You can control what's going on at the time, and you can be involved, but there's, players still have quite a lot of bargaining power in those situations. My advice would be never get complacent, always be scouting, not because you want to drop players, but because if players are going to leave, you're going to need to replace them. So there's that. Kieran, what's your top tip?
The key word I want to pick up on there from Joel is bargaining power. Bargaining power is what it's all about. You need to recognise, as an organisation owner, you have a lot of bargaining power. If you are willing to fund players to events, they do not want to fund themselves to events.
Yeah.
Like, don't let. I don't want to use the term get screwed over or get walked over, because it shouldn't be that sort of relationship. If you've got that sort of working relationship, then you're doing something wrong. You need to pick players that are going to represent your org well. They're going to respect you. You're going to have a good working relationship. And obviously they've got to be, you want them to be as talented as possible. But you're not going to, if you're starting out, you're not going to pick up a top 4 team.
Unless you pay big bucks, but it's very rare.
I mean, but then, that's my point. It's the bargaining power. If you've got the money, you've got bargaining power. And contracts aren't necessary. If you've got something in writing that says this is the agreement and both people know where they stand, then that's essentially a contract anyway. But contracts just make it a lot easier for, if you're dealing org to org, you can send them the contract and be like, look, this is what we've agreed, and all sorts. So just be confident, be resilient, and use your bargaining power.
I would say as well, we are far from experts. We've obviously been in the game a set amount of time. We've still got so much more to learn. We're lucky in that we have people around us that have, more experience in some areas than us. We have a lot of people we speak to that advise us from, other organisations, other influential people in the game. Draw on your networks, because you're not alone in this. There are people you can ask if you're not entirely sure what the best call to make is. That's, admitting when you don't know everything is just as important as when you do know something, sticking to your guns.
I think that's sound advice. But yeah, just to kind of wrap it up then, I'm really happy with the way this video went. I personally wanted to make this with you guys because I feel like exceL doesn't hide things from people that, unless it's, something that is confidential. So hopefully this has enlightened people if they are a bit, wondering why a roster was picked up and then, left, and then another one picked up, because at the end of the day, I think we can all put, say that we would rather be honest than kind of hide things behind closed doors, etc. So hopefully you've enjoyed it as a viewer. If you have, obviously be sure to hit that like button. It really does help us out, and even consider subscribing to see more content. But Joel, Kieran, if you just want to say your goodbyes, you want to shout out anyone, go for it. Let's go Joel first, then Kieran.
Firstly, I just want to say good luck to the guys that left us. You know, not only the guys that left us after the EGL, but also the guys that were with us very briefly. Esports is a long game. I have no doubt I'm going to come across those players again in another capacity. You know, some of the negotiations are pretty tough, but from our point of view, wish them the best of luck. Sorry, that's slightly longer than
It's all right.
what we were looking for. And yeah, just really happy to have loads of new people on board, new design lead, new FIFA player, new COD team, and other new teams hopefully on the way. So yeah,
It's exciting times for exceL. It's fair
absolutely.
to say. Kieran?
I just want to say we are always going to continue to exceL for the rest
That's
of
definitely going to
time.
be backwards.
Is that it? Okay, well, this is pretty much going to do it for this video, guys. My name's been Tommy. As I said, hopefully you have enjoyed that this video even. Smack that like button if you have. It really does help us out, and even consider subscribing, as I said before. We'll see you at Am2 Pro, or even sooner maybe, with a video from one of these guys. I don't know what the hell they're doing. I'm not going to join them. But yeah, my name's been Tommy. That has been Joel and Kieran. We'll see you later, and goodbye.